What's up, squad? Welcome back to Talk and Dribble. Today we're diving into the NBA Contenders tiers. We're breaking down who we think's got what it takes to win it all this season.
That's right, we're sorting teams into championship or bust, good but not great, and first round exits. Let's break down who's got a legitimate shot at the title and who's heading for an early vacation.
And then we're talking about the future face of the league. I've got a list of players who can step up and carry the NBA into the next generation.
Also, it's time for Who Would You Rather? Point Guard edition. So we're picking between some of the best floor generals in the game and debating who we'd rather have running our team.
Before we get into it, make sure you're following us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. We've got all your NBA, NFL, AFL that needs to be covered.
All right, let's jump in. This is Talk and Dribble, man, episode 11.
Here we go, man. We'll dive straight into Dribble and Dash.
Let's dive in.
Been a lot that's happened this week. Sad news out of Spurs. Well, there's a couple of sad news out of Spurs, but the big one, Greg Popovich is not expected to return this season, and his future past this year is uncertain. So that's kind of sad to see. Hall of Fame coach, possibly towards the end of his career. Two of ESPN's biggest talents in Malika Andrews and Brian Windhorst set to become free agents after the NBA season. So we'll see who starts to poach them. Big news out of the Bucks. Bobby Portis of the Milwaukee Bucks has been suspended for 25 games for violating the league's anti-drug policy.
Smoking some of that Mary Jane.
No wonder his eyes are about to pop out of his face.
All-Star Weekend does it.
Oh, brother. Massive news out of the Brooklyn Nets. They lose Ben Simmons, but it's okay. Killian Hayes signed on a 10-day contract for the Brooklyn Nets.
Jesus.
Saw his first game a couple of days ago. First shot right past the rim, hit the side of the backboard. So we love that. That's a great start to the Brooklyn Nets Killian Hayes era.
Bloody earth.
Chris Paul overtook Jason Kidd for the second most steals in NBA history at 2,686 and counting, only second behind John Stockton with 3,265.
Damn.
So I don't think he'll be catching him anytime soon.
God, no.
Real sad news, but not sure where this sits though. Cat went down with a leg injury against Boston in Monday's loss. Did not return to the game. So I don't know if an actual report has come out yet of how serious or how significant that injury is.
Hopefully it's not too serious.
Hopefully not too bad. And then the big one out of Spurs as well, Victor Wembanyama out for the season with a blood clot in his right shoulder. So all the prayers best to him because we know how serious this can be. Obviously it affected Chris Bosh's career. But then we've also seen good things as Brandon Ingram went through a similar thing and came out okay and he's playing career best basketball. So prayers go to him. He was like booked in for Depoy this year and stuff and he's had a tremendous career. We'll touch more on that later, but yeah, that's not what you want to see.
Nah, that's shattering stuff.
Yeah. And then last thing just came out today. Naz Reid is expected to opt out of his current contract that possesses a $15 million player option to enter free agency. So obviously off the sound of that, it probably screams alarm bells for Minnesota, but it looks like he'll just be opting out and he'll sign a bigger extension with the T-Wolves come free agency.
So he's sticking around.
Because we got rid of Cat to keep him and Nikhil. So I don't think we'll see Naz leave the T-Wolves this year. I think Minnesota has the money to go spend on him to keep him around. But he's going to get a big contract because he's having a hell of a year. So that's Dribble and Dash concluded. There's a lot going on.
Off the back of that, before we get into our contender tiers, as a result of this Wemby injury, so he's obviously ruled out for the year. He was no doubt the Defensive Player of the Year favourite.
Yep.
With him out, now Jaren Jackson is the odds-on favourite for Memphis Grizzlies. And if he wins it, he's going to be eligible for a 5-year, $345 million Supermax extension. So that's Luka Doncic money. That's the reason Luka was traded. Well, one of the reasons Luka was traded from the Mavericks because they didn't want to lock their whole salary cap into this one player. Bro, Jaren Jackson is not worth that kind of money.
We might see him. We might see him go.
It'd be a shame. This second apron rule that the NBA has put in, which really restricts teams once they sign their Supermax players, is leading to these decisions that have to be made by these franchises. Like if Jaren Jackson doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year or doesn't make All-NBA, he will be eligible for a 4-year 147. So
that's a massive. Wait, so what was the 300 one?
5-year 345 compared to a 4-year 147.
That is so that is a life-changing
that's insane
decision right there.
He'll be I think that'll have him as the highest paid player in the league. Jaren Jackson, he's an amazing player. He was an all-star this year, but he's not worth that.
But then it's similar to what happened with Jaylen Brown. He went through a phase where he was the highest paid player in the league. And everyone's like, how? But it's just the salary cap's going up. So a few years down the track, he probably won't even be top 10.
Yep.
But that is so much money to pay for Triple J, a bloke who Obviously, tremendous defender.
Yeah.
He's been an all-star and stuff, but they haven't, like, the core they've got at Memphis hasn't been to the Western Conference Finals. They haven't gotten past the semis yet, so to pay him top dollar like that, when he's probably their number 2 option, but arguably, well, he's definitely not their first option. Desmond Bain, possibly their number 2, so it's like...
It'll be interesting to see how it shapes up because he might not win it. Evan Mobley is, like, I think last time I looked, Jaren Jackson was like $1.30 and then Evan Mobley was like $1.85. It was something very close. So he might not win it, but, bro, decisions to be made by Memphis if
Dyson.
he does hit that. Yeah, should be Dyson.
How that man didn't skyrocket to the top.
Another thing that happened this week, so this kind of debunks my Zion's a bust take.
Oh,
he became the 3rd fastest active player to reach 5,000 career points. So
good to see. Benny did a lot of research going into that bust call.
If you listen to that ep, I said he's a bust on the basis of the expectation before he started playing. And the fact that he's always injured.
I just love that you've called yourself out about it.
Yeah, I know.
That's what we need. We need accountability on this show.
Look, I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to do it, but then I saw the post and then it says he's the 3rd fastest active player to get to 5,000. I'm like, fuck, I've got to address this.
I feel like that's sad to hear though, because it shows how good he is when he's healthy. Like it's even just the eye test. You just watch him and he's so dominant. Like, remember last year how good he was against the Lakers in that, was it the playing game and then he got injured?
Game and he almost got New Orleans over the hump against the Lakers and then he got injured with about 5 minutes left.
Completely changed.
Shattered.
So it's kind of sad to hear that because if he can stay healthy, he could literally be one of the best players in the league. And when we talk about our face of the league kind of stuff, his name should be up there if he can stay healthy, but it's a big what if.
And he's lean right now. He's very lean. I called him fat a few weeks ago. That's on me.
Apparently,
I'll take that.
Apparently, he's at his skinniest since college.
Yeah.
So I think.
No, you're not great. Not great for all. Alrighty. Well, let's get into our contender tiers. Yeah. So we're basically going through the only teams we have on this list are teams who they're going to make the playoffs most likely, or at least the play-in, and there's kind of some path for them to get there. Yeah. Obviously only one can win it, but we have several tiers here. So we'll start off with our first tier. This is the championship or bust tier. And
that's the thing. I think everyone knows there's really realistically 2 teams in there that are really a part of that, and that's the Boston Celtics at 1 and the Oklahoma City Thunder at 2.
Yeah.
You're talking about, I know seeding-wise, Boston's not number 1 in the East, but you're talking about the best team from the East and the best team from the West. Yep. OKC are elite. Like, we've seen that.
But Boston, they have obviously the playoff experience, but they're just the clear number 1. They have no personnel weaknesses. Like, they're top 6 in offense, defense, and defensive rebounding. Top 5 in paint, like defense, 3-point defense, number 1 in transition defense. So their defense is insane. Yep. And they perform against the best teams. Yep. Like, they're better than the Thunder against those best teams. Tatum is way better than last season. Like, I feel like he's actually probably one of the most underrated players right now in the league.
Well, I reckon he's probably risen into that top tier of players this season.
With SGA, with Jokic, with Luka, Giannis.
And it's kind of going under the radar because how good Boston's roster is. Yeah. But when you're talking about who's more reliable, you'd be taking in the talent and the experience of Boston over OKC. Yeah. But OKC are super young. But
and I feel like their offense is almost translates better into the postseason than OKC's. So OKC rely heavily on turnovers. They're this young, energetic team. They really take advantage of those weak teams. So when you don't have much time to prepare, you're just playing these one-off games. Yeah. Boston translates better into the postseason because they have a mastermind in Joe Mazzulla, but they're so lengthy. They can switch. They have multiple players who can initiate the offense where OKC are very SGA dependent.
And you know how tight and how much the defense can tighten up in the playoffs. You know how clogged the lanes are. And, bro, when it comes to Boston, there's no better team than spreading across the perimeter and just knocking down threes all game, where OKC rely so heavily, like their best 2 players rely so heavily on that mid-range game in Jalen Williams and SGA. And we kind of saw that in the Dallas series last year. Yeah. It can clog up big time, especially if they're going up against big bodies, long defenders. It can really get stagnant for them.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Last season, they were a really good regular season team, OKC. They dominated Dallas in the regular season last year. And then you saw, once it's just that head-to-head matchup, you have to prepare a whole series worth for one team. Dallas just swept the floor with them. They couldn't guard Luka. But that's not taking away how good OKC is this year.
They're a different team than last year.
Yeah,
You're talking about they've added Hartenstein, another year of Chet. They've added Caruso, another year of Jalen Williams. He's an all-star this year. Shea's probably going to win MVP.
Yep.
Like, this roster is stacked.
Oh, and they're the best.
So deep.
And we were talking about Boston's defense, but this OKC defense is the best in the league by a mile.
Oh.
They're the gap between, so they're number one in defensive rating.
Yep.
The gap between their defensive rating and the second best defensive rating is the same gap between the second best defensive rating and the 10th. So that shows you the massive gap and their defense, because they've just got, like, they've got a baller in Lou Dort who you can really put on anyone. He's as versatile as it comes. He's an undersized kind of wing, but you can put him on a 1, you can put him on a 4. Like, he was guarding Giannis in a Bucks game.
Yep.
And then he's guarding like your best point guard. So,
and then, I was watching yesterday OKC against the T-Wolves. Jalen Williams goes under the radar for how good defensively he is.
yeah.
There would be possessions where he's on Nas, who's practically running our 5-man. He's bodying Nas. Nas is trying to body him down, bully him into the paint. He just stands up, takes it, and he's literally pushing him backwards. And then he'd switch on to Ant, and he's just locking him up. And his hands, so quick.
Yep.
Like, he just gets hands in everywhere, pokes balls away, and forces turnovers. That was, like, the big reason we got done yesterday, was Ant would try and get in. Jalen Williams just puts his hand in there, causes turnovers.
So active.
That's where they score so much from as well, because they're such a big transition team. That's where they killed us yesterday.
Yeah.
So they'll look to do that in the playoffs, but we have seen everything kind of slows down a bit in the playoffs. Everything gets a bit more stagnant. It's a bit tighter. So that game style could struggle a bit more come playoff time.
They're a massive transition team. They're fourth best offensive team in transition. And as you said, that slows down. There's not as many turnovers. It's way more physical, intense basketball.
Yep.
And that's why I think I have Boston just a little bit over them. Boston, they're way older. Like, Boston are one of the oldest teams in the league. But OKC, their top 8 players who have, like, for minutes, all 26 or younger.
Yep.
3 of them are 23 or younger. This shows you how young they are. Boston, their top 8 in minutes, only Tatum is 26 or younger. He's 26.
Yeah.
And then 3 of them, of these players, are 30 or older.
Yeah, far out.
Like, that's insane. 2 of them are over 34. Like, bro, they're so old, but way more experienced. And that's why I think OKC's wins almost inflated a little bit, at least compared to Boston, because Boston, they're not going to be rocking up every game with their best.
Once you win a championship, the regular season becomes a cruise.
And there's so many vets.
They know it really doesn't matter where Boston finish.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Whoever they get in the matchup, they've got an advantage against. So it really doesn't matter if they've got that 2 seed. Like, I think they'll have that 2 seed locked up. So really the only time they'll be away is if they verse Cleveland come conference championship. And you just expect them to take care of that.
Yeah,
so,
you do. You don't see any of these East teams get near them, especially New York. They're not getting anywhere near them. But there's going to be a lot of luck. Like, you feel like OKC, there's more of a chance OKC not making the finals in the West compared to Boston in the East.
100%. And real quick, just to add on real quick, OKC, they look so much better when Hartenstein's on the court.
Yeah.
Oh my days, that team looks complete because they struggle with defensive rebounding, and he's massive with that. They just look super poised. He's under the radar, one of the best passing bigs in the league. As soon as it hits the post with him or somewhere down low, you've just got blokes cutting everywhere, and he finds them. Because, when you're versing blokes like Shea or Jalen Williams, there's going to be so much ball watching. So any little back cuts and stuff, he just finds blokes. So he's sort of like really transformed that offense even more.
Yep.
So
and he's going to be massive for them come playoff time. Like, physical, rebounding. They got so Shea reliant last year in that semi-conference final against Mavs. So they're going to be relying on those bigs, getting those boards, crashing the boards. They're going to rely on the shooters. Like, they're only 17th in three-point percentage this year, and they crashed and burned with their shooting in the playoffs last year. Isaiah Joe was the only bloke to shoot over 40% from 3. So they need, if they're hitting shots, their defense is good enough to leverage with their offense, and they'll run rings around everyone. But if they're not hitting threes and they come really Shea dependent, it could be we'll see. Like, that's why it's championship or bust for them.
Yeah, 100%. So that moves us into our second tier, where we've got our true contenders. So these are guys, they obviously can win a championship.
Yeah, they could upset the first tier teams, but they're vulnerable to, like, certain matchups, and they're not as good as your Boston and your OKC.
Yeah, 100%. And I think what we've got Cleveland at 3.
Cleveland at 3.
We've got Denver at 4 and Lakers at 5. So starting off with Cleveland, I think a big thing is because this is their first year of really looking dominant. And they are a very dominant regular season team so far.
Yeah.
But because we haven't seen them make that big playoff push, and I don't know, like, you're talking about the teams above them in OKC and Boston have that alpha dog in terms of Tatum and Shea. you're still not sure with Cleveland, is Donovan the man to kind of really lead a championship team or something? So I think that kind of leaves them down, but they're really knocking on that door of championship or bust because they are an elite team. I think they made great mid-season trades.
Yeah.
DeAndre Hunter, great pickup, kind of just completes that roster a bit. I like them a lot, and they've just, depth-wise, they probably compete with Boston and OKC. I think it goes under the radar how deep they can go now with their roster. So they're really good.
Yeah, they're super deep. They've got a crazy offense. Like, they've got one of the best offenses in the league. They've got a respectable defense. The addition of DeAndre Hunter is definitely gonna help with that. They're so lengthy. But it'll be interesting to see. Like, we know they're a good regular season team, but it'll be up to if Garland, if Mobley, they can step up in the playoffs. They've got kind of a reputation now. The lights have been a bit too bright for them come playoff time. So they're having career years. Garland is an amazing playmaker, and Mobley, he'll be all NBA, I think. So it just, can they translate this regular season success to the playoffs?
And that's the crazy part. Last year, they were one of the slowest teams in the league. And this year, are they the fastest?
Yeah.
They are the fastest.
They're a big transition team, which is a good thing for regular season. But as we said, it would just be interesting to see how that translates into the playoffs where the 100%. Game really slows down.
Yep.
But no, we'll see, man. They've kind of slowed down recently. They're only 11-6 in their last 17 since their hot start. But I have them like losing in a conference finals to Celtics. They need, the only way they're kind of going to beat the Celtics is if, I don't know, maybe there's a few injuries, or they'll have home court, so they win their home court and then somehow pinch a game 3 or 4 against the Celtics and then close it out from there. But they need a lot to go right to beat the Celtics.
Yep. No, 100%.
But then you could also see them losing to like a New York or a Milwaukee or an Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see, man.
No, 100%. Coming in at 4, but Denver, I think just Jokic being there gets him there because we just know how good he is. He's so far the best player in the league. I think their team's actually starting to come along. Obviously, they had a tough loss against the Lakers in Denver, which is actually, that's a big game. That's a massive game that happened. But Denver, I just like them. You know what you're going to get from Jamal Murray come playoff time. You know he takes it up that extra notch. Big thing is they need to stay healthy. So they need Gordon healthy. They need MPJ to stay healthy. And they, obviously, because how big of a part it is in terms of Jokic's passing game, they need blokes to be able to make shots come playoff time. He's going to rely heavily on that. Especially with the way Lakers played defense on him. They blitzed the hell out of Denver.
Didn't let Jokic grab the ball.
It was crazy. You've got Dorian Finney-Smith, you got Rui, you've got them facing Jokic every time.
Yep.
So anytime they want to feed the post, they got to feed it over the top, and they just sent an extra man every time, and it worked.
Yeah.
It worked to a treat. He only took 7 shots, which is concerning. But
basically, stopping Jokic is just not letting him get the ball.
But when you're talking about the best player in the league, and then Mike Malone, who's one of the best coaches in the league, you know that's not it for them. They're gonna figure this stuff out. That could be a 1-game thing. You know they're gonna make stuff work. Jokic will get more aggressive.
They know that they have a great offense. They've got one of the best offenses in the league. They do. With Jokic on the court, their offensive rating is better than what it was last year and better than what it was in 2023 when they won the championship. So Jokic, he's the best player in the league. I think he should probably be MVP, but They like no one else has that problem. He's an unsolvable problem. So that already gets them, you'd think, to at least the second round. It's just their defense. Their defense is pretty average.
It's very average, but it kind of doesn't help when you got Jokic back there.
Yeah.
That's what they got exploited with last season against the T-Wolves, and could just get downhill at any point he wanted. So,
and that's the thing. We think we have Denver making it quite deep into the playoffs. They could potentially get to the championship, but if they come against a Minnesota, that is the matchup. That's tough for them. Yeah. And even, we're not sure how it's going to shape up, but based on that Lakers matchup, like a few days ago, that looks like a tough matchup for them. So they are matchup dependent, but we could easily see them getting into the championship.
Yeah, 100%. It's gonna be exciting to see. And then at 5, we got the Lakers. Probably the most question marks around a team there can be when it comes to the Lakers, because you just don't know what to expect. But I think since the Luka addition, obviously they had that rough game against Utah. Yeah. But apart from that, it has been very good signs.
They're looking good. Their defense is obviously questionable, but they were actually the number 1 ranked defense before the Luka trade. So AD was in and out of the rotation throughout that period. They were on a 13-game stretch where they were the number 1 defense in the league. Since the Luka trade, they're still second. Yeah. They're the second best defense in the league.
Overall, in the last 18 games, they're ranked number 1. Yeah. So since Jan 15, they are the number 1 ranked defense. since
Well, that's the thing.
Jan 15.
There's a lot of questions about their defense, but they have too many good defensive players, like individual players, to not be a good defense.
Yep.
Like Dorian Finney-Smith, massive addition. Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, good defensive guard.
Can't play offense to save his life. But
Bron, when he's engaged. Bron can guard. Austin Reeves isn't amazing, but he's a respectable defender.
100%. No, they're scary. Like, yeah, that's the thing. When people are just going to look at this Lakers team, it's like, LeBron and Luka, bad defensive team.
Yep.
But they're not. We know that. We know that. And I think JJ Redick is so far ahead of everyone right now with his defensive schemes. Obviously, he's done so much study on Jokic. We saw what he was saying as well. He said he hadn't slept for, 2 days or something with that Jokic game. And you just see it. It pans out. He is so locked in as a coach right now. And he's so far ahead of everyone right now with his defensive schemes. He knows what he's doing.
Well, it looked a bit different against Denver because they were basically, just like not allowing Jokic to touch the ball. They were like fronting him all game. But against most other teams, they just switch. It's 1-5, switch everything because they're so versatile. So that's going to be the issue with Luka. We're not sure how that's going to look.
Yeah.
Because Luka is he can really just take possessions off on the defensive end. But if he can somehow buy in on the defensive end, just be engaged, and that 1-5 switching system from JJ Redick that he's implemented can somehow be, at 80-90%, then like compared to what it's been, they could be pretty good.
Expect Luka's defense to be better here because now he's with the Lakers. When you've got LeBron there, he can take possessions off.
Yeah.
There's times where you've even seen it in the Denver game where LeBron will bring it up or Reeves will bring it up and Luka runs to the corner. So there's possessions he gets off offensively, which he can start to use a bit more defensively because if he really locks in there, then they're lethal. Like, who was it? I heard Jason Timpf talking about it. It's like everyone's so concerned on like, how Lakers are going to guard Denver, how are Lakers going to guard these guys. People still need to guard the Lakers.
Yeah.
You're talking about possibly the best offensive team we're going to see. People need to be able to guard them, and they've shown already they can play really good defense for an entire game. Folks still need to be able to guard these guys. You're talking about Luka, LeBron, Austin Reeves down there.
Yep.
Like that is 3 nearly unguardable players.
And we're just scratching the surface with Luka with what he's fine. He's looking comfortable. He's putting up shots, and they're going to drop. And bro, I can't wait. But we're not sure how they're going to match up over a series with Denver, so that you'd think that's going to be one of the most difficult matchups for them. But if they verse like even an OKC, I have them matching up well with them.
Yeah.
The way they can switch with everyone, but they're such a theoretical team right now.
Yeah.
So anyway, should we move on to our third tier?
Our third tier, potential to contend. So these teams, I think we see them as really good teams.
Yeah.
Obviously.
High upside, but have massive weaknesses.
Big weaknesses. 100%. And we start with that at 6, we've got the New York Knicks.
Yep.
At 7, the Milwaukee Bucks. At 8, the Memphis Grizzlies. And at 9, the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yep.
So the New York Knicks, I think we can touch on big concerns. 0-7 against Cleveland, Boston, and OKC.
Yeah. 0-3 against Boston.
0-3 against Boston. And they're not just losing. They are getting their ass kicked.
Yeah.
It's quite concerning. Like when they're versing decent to subpar teams, they look phenomenal. Yep. And it looks like the Knicks are back. But they've been super concerning against these top tier teams.
Really good offense, second best offense led by Brunson. OG, Mikal, Cat, they're all getting their points. They're all getting their buckets. Cat's having a career year compared to his last few years. But they have a mediocre defense. And it's strange. They've got some really good defensive talent. They got Tibbs as a coach. He's a very heavy defensive coach. But they give up the highest opponent 3-point field goal percentage in the league, which is massive. Like think how important threes are. And as you said, they really do drop off on both sides of the ball against the best teams. And that's really why they're lower on this contender list.
I think that's the concerning thing for them. They sent 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges.
Yeah.
He's actually not a great defender right now.
No.
We saw him as this elite 3-and-D player who was a near all-star last year. He's actually not a good defender. This year and last year, he has not been great defending the ball. So that's a lot of concerns. And obviously, with Cat, very limited defensively. He looked good in the playoffs last year, but that's when you've got an anchor in Rudy Gobert behind you. So there's a lot of concerns. And Jalen Brunson, undersized guard, he's going to struggle to guard the ball at times.
Yep.
You're really relying on OG Anunoby and then Josh Hart, but he's still an undersized player whatever position you play him at. So it is super concerning against teams like Boston.
Yeah, so it's inevitable that Boston will beat them if they come up against each other. But if somehow Boston get upset before they face the Knicks, so if Knicks are on the other side of the draw get to an Eastern Conference Finals and don't have to play Boston, that is the path I see to them potentially being in the finals.
Yeah.
But if they play Boston, unless Mitch Robinson somehow comes back and transforms their defense, they're no hope.
Yeah,
so,
100%.
Anyway, number 7, we had the Bucks. So such a physically imposing team. This is the team that I reckon will give Boston their most trouble.
Yeah.
Like they've shown it over the last few years. Giannis, there's no way to solve the Giannis issue. It's similar to Jokic. He's just amazing on both ends. No one on Boston can stop him. It's just about limiting him.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be interesting to see how it shapes up with the Kuzma addition. Lillard's defense will be huge in the playoffs if he's engaged against the Boston if they come across him.
Yeah. That's a part where they're really going to struggle.
Yeah.
You're talking about, the top 3 teams in the East are Boston, Cleveland, and Knicks.
Yep.
All got elite guard play.
Yep.
So, and length. So, Dame's going to struggle defensively there. And you're talking about, obviously, Brook Lopez is a great defender, but he's going to be in drop coverage half the time. So he can't really play up on the ball. So I think that's where they're going to face so many issues against top-tier players, and top-tier teams.
Well, they've shown they're 2-12 against top 10 teams this year. So top 10 teams in point differential, 2-12. They're a bottom 4 offense and defense in those matchups. So minus that in-season tournament game when OKC were a little injury depleted, they've 2-12 against those top 10 teams. So, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
But I like the Kuzma addition. I think that's a great pickup. He's a bloke. Obviously, he's not having his best year at Washington, but I think he'll come here. He's playing with better players now. Yep. He doesn't just get to do what he wants to do, so he's in more of a structure now. I like that pickup. I think I wouldn't be surprised if we see him make a decent run, barring, they need Giannis to stay healthy.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. If Giannis is healthy, they'll be there. Yep. Number 8, Memphis Grizzlies. So 5th in offense, 7th in defense, 2nd in rebounding. They're a team that are probably going to be a top 3 seed in the West, but very matchup dependent again, but they don't play well against the best teams. So if they come up against an OKC, if they come up even against the Lakers, I don't think they're going to get very deep. They showed it. They're 6-10 against the top 10 teams in point differential this season. Yeah. So 6-10. So another team who really dominate those weaker teams. They're a young, explosive, dynamic team, but against those best teams, they're not quite there.
Yeah. It's tough because obviously they had a real down year last year, just demolished by injuries, which actually ended up being a decent thing for them. They got a couple of good picks this year, so it kind of makes them super young.
Yep.
So we're talking about a team that is actually quite different to the one they went to the playoffs with 2 years ago against the Lakers. So obviously you got your core together with Ja, Desmond, and Triple J. But Ja's definitely not playing his career best basketball. Yeah. You can still see he's rusty. Desmond's starting to find it and stuff. So I don't know. There's a lot of question marks there. I think they're a good team though. I think they're definitely a team that can make some noise, but like we're saying, they're super matchup dependent. So
I think the max they can get is a Western Conference Finals, and that's if they come up if they verse Houston in the first round, they could definitely get through to at least the second round, and then if they, I don't know, Minnesota will be a tough matchup for them. Denver, really everyone else, I don't see them beating.
Yeah, I think, if you're the Grizzlies, I think you'd be ecstatic with a Western Conference Finals appearance. If you can get there, that's insane. In this elite of a Western Conference, I think you'd take that every day, but they're just going to get better, I reckon. Like Ja, if he can stay healthy and all that, next year is going to be a great year for him, I'd assume.
All right. Number 9, last team in this tier, Minnesota Timberwolves, your team. They're probably the most physical team when they want to be in the league, and that's what translates well in the playoffs. Yeah. And so they match up well against those best teams. So they're the opposite of Memphis. I feel like they match up well against Denver. Yep. Match up well against OKC, match up well against Lakers. If they're playing the Minnesota way, but they're nowhere near as consistent as Memphis. That's why they're probably that little peg lower.
That's probably the most frustrating thing about our team is we are super inconsistent. And I think the one highlight, obviously it's been terrible that we've had so many injuries in terms of Julius Randle's out, Rudy Gobert's out, Dante DiVincenzo's out. But it's given a lot of young blokes chances. So we've seen an resurgence from Naz Reid. He is having an insane breakout right now since Julius Randle's been out.
Yep.
Jalen Clark has gotten minutes now, and he is looking like an all-perimeter defender. He is giving Shea struggles whenever he's on the court.
Yep.
And then we're seeing Terrence Shannon Jr. getting a run, Rob Dillingham getting a run. I think that's the big part for the T-Wolves is to lean on this depth. Last year we were so massive on their depth, and we're like, bro, this they might have the best depth in the league. This year, it hasn't been the same because we've run a shorter rotation since these injuries. So if we can rely on that, I think there's a big chance we can make some noise in the old Western Conference. But it just looks very limited with the likes of Julius Randle being in the team. I don't know. It just doesn't look like winning basketball.
If your offense shapes up in the playoffs, you could potentially go all the way. If it's not, you'll be a first round exit, I reckon. So
100%.
Anyway, man.
Real quick, we actually are in overtime right now with the Oklahoma City Thunder. We're in overtime. It is a little 125 to 124. Minnesota are currently up.
Yep.
So hey, T-Bulls get this dub. We might have them in maybe championship or bust.
Jeez, massive. All right.
That's what we see. That's the tough part. Real quick, just before we finish on Minnesota, that's the frustrating part. Is against good teams we play elite basketball. We've seen that, especially against the Western Conference. We look so good against the top teams in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
And then we just drop games against bad teams like Washington. We drop games against we lost Pistons aren't bad, but we lost to the Pistons before they really hit their stride. Spurs, we've lost games to the Spurs. There's just teams that are struggling, and we play down to that level of basketball. Sacramento as well.
Yep.
So it's a bit frustrating like that, but hey, if we make the playoffs, then we're versing elite teams. So you'd hope we bring our best.
That's it. All right, let's go to the fourth tier. So we won't spend as much time on these teams because, look, we're calling this tier if everything goes right. So most likely a first round exit, but they could get there. There is a path for them. So at 10, the Warriors.
Yep.
Great defensive team. Butler and Draymond, two of the best defenders in the league. As long as you have Steph Curry on your team, you're a chance. So they're going to be a 7 or 8 seed, but hey, I'd hate to be the 1 or 2 seed having to face the Warriors.
That'd be a nightmare.
If the offense is running smoothly, if it's doing, I think they're 4-1 since Jimmy joined. If they're looking like that in the playoffs, I would hate to verse them. But if the offense comes to a halt, then they could be a first round exit.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on to the Mavs. Mavs is just a tough one because they're depleted.
Is that Mavericks
by
at 11?
Yeah, Mavericks at 11. They're just depleted by injuries right now.
Yep.
So by the time they get them all back, you're going to be talking about it's going to be playoff time. And can you really rely on a team that hasn't had any reps together? You're talking about Kyrie playing with AD. They haven't played together before.
Yep.
And heading into playoffs, they may have a couple of games under their belt at best. And then Lively's down, Gafford's down. So they're really depleted right now. I can't really see them making much noise.
The only hope I see is that because we haven't seen them together, AD and Lively at all, they are just this amazing defense and they come in, no one has any tape on them and they just stun everyone and go on an amazing run.
Yep.
Will that happen? I doubt it, but if they're healthy, you can't rule them out completely.
Yep.
So then we have the Indiana Pacers at 12. So they're the 5th best record in the league since December 13. So they're playing well. 7th in offense, 11th in defense. We saw them last year make it to the Eastern Conference Finals simply because they were so durable. Everyone else was injured. They just don't have any lineups that are consistent and can stack up against the best teams in the league.
Yep.
They have a limitation. So they could potentially upset a Cleveland, upset a New York, but if they come up against a Boston, we do forget they were competitive against Boston in those individual games. They held leads late in games.
They did. Yeah, 100%. But I don't know. I just don't think they've got the firepower. I don't like them I don't like them enough to make a big run into the Eastern Conference this year. Obviously, we saw it last year. Everything went right for them, and I just don't think that's going to happen again.
Number 13, we have the Los Angeles Clippers. So obviously completely dependent on Kawhi's health.
Yep.
Completely dependent. Harden's dominating. Zubac is having a career year, super dependable center. Power's having a career year, but if Kawhi's not healthy, they really have no shot, and who knows what kind of Kawhi we're going to get.
Yeah, 100%. That's the thing. It's completely reliant on that. 14, the Houston Rockets. Houston are probably the toughest team to rank right now because they're really elite, but come playoff time, they're so young. They're super young. They're kind of similar to OKC in terms of they run. They're basing it off forcing turnovers, getting downhill, transition basketball.
Yep.
And if we've seen that doesn't work in the playoffs, and I just think they might just be a couple of years away from really hitting that stride. I think they're an elite regular season team, but come playoffs, they will need everything to go right for them to really succeed.
And they need to be healthy. If they have Van Vliet, they're a chance. We've seen their offense just crumble since Van Vliet's gone down.
Yep.
But I can't see a team like this who has no one really in their prime making an actual decent run. 100%. They could get lucky with a few rounds, get to
sure.
definitely.
If they can get Memphis in the first round, then there's a good chance they can win round one.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
yeah, anyone else, I think they might struggle.
Yeah, and then the last team in this tier, the Orlando Magic. So they're almost a theoretical team this year because they've just been so injury depleted. But we saw last year they took Cleveland to 7 games.
Yep.
So they've been there. They've got a little playoff experience under their belt.
Yep.
Jalen Suggs will come back. He's having a career year. The duo of Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, I reckon it's underrated. I had him in my list a few weeks ago. I wouldn't want to be playing them come playoff time.
They're scary. They play hard. They play really hard.
And they're one of the best defenses in the league.
Yeah. No,
So,
I like that. I agree with all that.
they're a very scrappy team, so I think that translates to the playoffs. But
100%.
look, I think they'll be a first round exit, but
Yep.
hey, never know.
I love it. Then moving into our last tier, 5th tier, first round exits at best.
Yeah.
So at 16, we've got the Suns. They might not even make the playoffs. We don't know. But if they sneak in somehow, I don't think they're going to make much noise at all.
Terrible
They're just
defense.
Terrible
So
defense,
bad.
terrible structure of a team. They're just not constructed to win many games. And I don't even think they will make the playoffs in the end.
I think if they'll lose in the play-in and at best lose in the first round, and then they'll blow up their team.
Yep. Seems about right. And then the Pistons at 17.
Yep.
Just super young. I think they're a really good team. They're going to be a good team in the future, but they're super young. There's no one in that Eastern Conference I can really see them beating out to win a first round.
Yep.
So I hope they make the playoffs. So right now they're sitting at the 6th seed.
Yeah, 6 seed. They're on a run.
The
6
seed.
game winning
They've
streak.
won- Yeah, so they're cruising. But yeah, they're just not built right now to make a deep playoff run, I don't think.
Ah, good call.
No, I love that.
Well, that's the contender list.
There we go.
Love your work, man. So shall we move on to your face of the leagues?
Face of the leagues. I've done a little ranking here. I've got a little top 8 of who I reckon could be in the face of the league come the future because there's been a lot of chirp about it lately. Obviously, LeBron's on the way out, so we kind of need someone to take the realm. And I don't know, I put a little list together here.
Okay.
Just a top 8. Would you want me to go from 1 to 8, or did you want me to build down to my number 1 pick?
Yeah, build up tier 1.
All right,
Yeah,
awesome.
I reckon.
Perfect. So we'll start off with number 8. This is a tough one. I've got Cade Cunningham.
Okay.
Obviously, this is our first year of really seeing him play elite basketball, and I don't think he's got the personality really to hold the entire league on his back.
Yep.
But because we haven't seen much of him and we know already how good he is, there's a chance like he could flourish somehow if he can bring the Pistons back from being a very terrible team. You never know. He might be a bloke that can take on the realms of running this league.
I respect it. Good call.
But that's why he's at 8. I just don't see it. Number 7, I think this is when we really get into blokes who are a big chance at it. Paolo Banchero from the Magic. I think he just goes super under the radar.
Yeah.
He's probably one of the most under the radar former first overall picks we've seen in a while. He gets no love. Obviously, I think it was last season, didn't have one national televised game.
Bloody hell.
And he took Orlando Magic to the playoffs. I think he's got the personality for it. I think it's actually under radar, just killer mentality, personality. We saw him chatting to George Niangs at Atlanta, just giving him the work. I think he's a big chance, but there's just blokes above him that I reckon just have that X factor to him. At 6, this is a tough one. I've got Tatum at 6.
Jason Tatum?
Because I think he's kind of hit an aging point where he may have missed that hole to really grab and go be the face of the league.
He doesn't really have the personality for it, does
and
he?
I don't think fans would allow him to be the face of the league. He's one of the most criticized players. I don't know. I can't see him being the face of the league. The personality doesn't fit. I think playing at Boston probably doesn't help him. And have we actually seen a post of Tatum where fans actually rally around him? Not many. So he kind of sits at 6.
Yep.
At 5, I've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So he is somewhat in a similar point with Tatum. Like obviously he's only 26, so he's still super young. But I don't know. He's also a bloke. I don't know if he's going to grab that. I don't know. He's obviously got the personality for it because everyone just raves about him.
Everyone loves him. He's one of the most popular players in the league.
Loved.
Yeah.
He's super loved, but I don't know. There's something there that I just don't know if he's got face of the league mentality. I don't know if it's something he actually wants. He's in a very low market in OKC. Obviously, they're cruising right now, and if they say they win a championship, all that could change. But I think he's in a similar boat where Tatum is. They're at a weird age where LeBron is still kind of grabbing that realm.
Yep.
And by the time he kind of hands it off, we don't know where they'll actually be at.
Yeah.
So I've got him at 5. Coming in at number 4 is a guy that isn't even in the league yet. At the University of Duke. Cooper Flagg. Bro,
Ooh.
it really is relying on what team drafts him. So if he goes to a team like possibly the Bulls, I actually think like Bulls is a market that he could go flourish at if he brings them from the depths of hell and makes them a really good basketball team. And I think whoever he plays for, he will do that.
Yeah.
He's going to make them reliable. He's going to make them relevant. He's going to be an absolute stud.
I respect that. That's a great call. He has got that. This is the draft you want the number one pick. Yep. He's a franchise changer.
100%.
He has face the league potential. He's got that dog in him.
He does.
You saw him in the Olympics when he was dominating the vets.
Yep.
Bro.
Well, he's an absolute killer, and he's having an insane year at Duke.
Yep.
He could be higher. It's just because he's not in the league yet. But I think because it's so up in the air right now, it might be a guy who's not in the league yet to go grab that. And that comes in at 3. This could be a bit biased, but I've got Anthony Edwards at 3. I think we can all agree. He's the mentality he's got, the personality he has is enough to just really be that face of the league. You can see ESPN really embraces him. Whatever highlight he has, it's all over ESPN. Obviously, he's talked about. He's he's not sure if it's even something he wants.
Yeah.
But fans have already kind of self-picked that he is the future face of the league.
It's just whether he will be better than these other players. And if he wants
Shea has set the bar so high.
Yeah.
So it's like Shea, who knows? Ant might not get to the level Shea's played at.
Yeah.
But his personality and stuff breeds this is who we want our league being around. But he's got to continue to win. He's got to continue to keep the T-Wolves relevant. T-Wolves need to continue to put a good team around him for that to happen. But I think if he keeps doing what he's doing, he's definitely going in the right direction of being a face of the league.
He's got that Jordan Kobe mentality about him, doesn't he?
100%. It's a full killer mentality.
Alrighty.
Number 2, I think it's helped so much that he's on the Lakers now, and that's Luka Doncic. When he was on the Mavs, I felt like that wasn't really an opportunity, but now he's on the Lakers. It's kind of something that's just given to him. It's like, bro, you're on Showtime Lakers now. You are on the biggest market in the biggest sport in the country. You are he's him.
He's the best European player on the best American NBA team. That is America's kind of NBA team. Everyone knows the Lakers. Everyone knows the gold and the purple. And Luka is on the Lakers.
Luka's on the Lakers, and hopefully for a long time. I expect he'll sign his extension this offseason. Luka, bro, if it wasn't for this guy above him, you'd pretty much have him booked in as number one. Number one.
Well, majority of the faces of the league in the past, like Kareem, Magic, Shaq, Kobe.
Yep.
What's the theme? They're all Lakers.
They're all Lakers.
Yeah.
And that brings me to my number 1, and he's kind of just booked it because we've never seen anyone like him. I don't know if we'll ever see anyone like him, and hopefully he can get healthy, but that's Victor Wembanyama. Bro, I think it's just going to be, if he just does what he does, if he can stay healthy, there's no way he can't be the face of the league. He's got the mentality. We're seeing he's reading books before games. He goes to bed at 9 o'clock. This guy just breeds basketball.
Even the way he was on All-Star Weekend, he was obviously the bloke who was trying the most.
Yep.
He's just got that mentality, loves basketball, and it'd be great to see him really announce himself as that face of the league. And he's just going to get better and better.
100%. And that pretty much concludes the face of the league chatter. Obviously, I think Jokic has just kind of passed. I don't think Jokic wants it. He could easily be the face of the league. Jokic doesn't want it. No. This is my list. So Wemby at 1.
Yeah, I like it,
watch out. Cooper Flag coming in next year.
That's it.
He'll be that man.
Okay, last segment. We'll smash through this. Talk and dribble, would you rather? Point guard edition. Okay, so we have a couple matchups here, and we're going to see who, kind of comes out on top in this little debate of who would we rather.
Right.
So we'll start off with Ja Morant and LaMelo Ball. So who are you taking, man?
Oh, I think that's an easy one. I'm taking Ja every day of the week.
Yeah, no, LaMelo Ball. For sure. LaMelo Ball.
LaMelo hasn't been to the playoffs, man.
Yeah, but he could have been in that face of the league in that list there.
Okay.
Bro, he is going to be so much better than Ja.
Okay, so Ja career averages 22, 5 and 7.
Okay.
2-time All-Star, 1-time All-NBA. 2022 most improved. This season averaging 24 and 7. He elevated the Grizzlies as soon as he got there. He's been to the playoffs 4 out of his 6 seasons. The 2 times they missed was his rookie year and last season when he only played 20 games.
Yeah, but he came into a way more established organization than the Hornets, bro. Hornets are one of the worst run organizations. If LaMelo can get the Hornets over the hump or go to another organization that actually is half decent and know what they're doing from a front office perspective, bro, he averaged 28, 5 and 7 this year. Obviously, he's been in and out with injuries, but he's 6'7". 6'7". Ja Morant's 6'2".
Yeah, cool.
Bro, LaMelo would dominate Ja.
He's 6'2", who averaged 27, 7 and 9 in the playoffs. Oh, and just the series that they versed against the champions in Golden State Warriors, averaged 38, 6 and 8. Against the champions in Golden State Warriors. You're talking about a third-year player averaging that?
2 years ago.
Bro, think
of all his off-court issues since
LaMelo
then.
can't stay healthy.
Bro, but LaMelo has had all these issues off court. If I would have one bloke
debatable.
leading my team, I would want LaMelo Ball.
LaMelo isn't no saint off the court, though.
No, he isn't. But bro, he's a better shooter, better playmaker, I think, and I think he's got more star potential.
I don't think he is a better playmaker than Ja.
Well,
I think Ja is one of the most impactful playmakers we've seen. We saw it firsthand. We watched Ja Morant take on LeBron James and Anthony Davis in America, in LA, in LA against them, and we saw him be the most impactful player on that court.
Look, he was crazy.
He was insane. And the playmaking was insane.
But LaMelo has better career stats, averages, than Ja in rebounds, steals, blocks, 3-point percentage, free throw percentage, effective field goal percentage, and they literally have equal in assists. Ja only averages more points per game. That's about it. And obviously he's had more success with his team, but I don't know, man. If I'm starting a squad from scratch and I've got LaMelo and Ja, I'm picking LaMelo.
Not a chance. Not a chance. I'm taking Ja every day of the week.
Well, let's you guys get back to us, see what you dribblers think. All right?
Just terrible calls.
Okay, let's move on. So that's 1-0 to me. So Dame versus Kyrie. So Damian Lillard versus Kyrie Irving. I'm taking Damian Lillard.
Yeah, see, I don't agree with that. That's Kyrie every day of the week. I don't know how you're taking Dame over Kyrie, possibly the most skilled player ever.
Damian Lillard averages more points, rebounds, and assists this season and for his career.
Cool.
Is a better playmaker, averages way more assists than Kyrie does, has been a better leader, has shown he's been a better leader in previous for Portland and even for Milwaukee. He established himself as a leader straight away. Has been a reliable superstar in both regular season and the playoffs. Yes, he hasn't gotten over that hump like Kyrie has, but Kyrie literally had LeBron James, hasn't been near it since. Obviously, had Luka Doncic last season as well. But Damian Lillard, he has been that true leader. He led that Portland Trailblazers team for years. And there's a reason why he was in
Did he lead them?
Yes, he did.
How many games did they beat the Warriors in?
The historic Warriors team.
Did he get one game off Stephen Curry in the playoffs? Just one game.
That's just Stephen Curry. That's a completely different discussion.
Just answer that. Did he win one game against Stephen Curry?
He didn't have LeBron James like Kyrie Irving did.
So Kyrie's one-time NBA champion, 9-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA, Rookie of the Year, career averages of 24, 4, and 6. In the playoffs last year, against the best defensive team all season in the Minnesota Timberwolves, he averaged 23, 4, and 5. And you're talking about on a all-perimeter defender in Jaden McDaniels. And then also Anthony Edwards, when he locks in, he's one of the best defenders going around as well. He single-handedly absolutely cooked us. Absolutely
single-handedly. He had Luka, bro. He had Luka Doncic.
But bro,
he's never single-handedly done anything. He's always had a LeBron or Luka. He's had an historic player.
Apart from that game 5, Kyrie was insane. Obviously, Luka took charge in that game 5. Kyrie was the piece that just destroyed us.
But in terms of reliability, Damian Lillard is way more reliable than Kyrie Irving. Way more. You know he's going to show up. Kyrie, bro, who knows? Is the earth flat? That's all he had so many bloody off-court issues. Seriously. And to be honest, I think this debate is already settled before we even started.
No.
Who was in the 75th anniversary team and who wasn't?
Bro, that was just highway
Dame
robbery.
was, Kyrie wasn't.
That was highway robbery.
Dame was, bro. No. Kyrie wasn't.
Bro,
because they know when you actually break it down, Kyrie, okay, he might be the most skilled player ever, but in terms of success and comparing it to Dame averages better career in points, rebounds, assists, everything. They have the exact same number of All-Stars, 8 times. Damian Lillard, this consistency, this reliability, 7-time All-NBA, compared to Kyrie's 3, as you said. So that is a microcosm of this.
No.
Damian Lillard, I would take him over Kyrie.
No, I would. I actually got it wrong though. Kyrie averaged 27, 4 and 5 against the T-Wolves. That's 4 extra points.
Right.
That's 4 extra points. I'm sorry, that's just not happening. You plug Kyrie on the Bucks, they are a much better team than they are today.
Come 100%. Off it.
Better defender as well. Better defender. Bro, Kyrie, I'm sorry, Dame couldn't friggin' guard you with your boot on. I'm telling you. Dame is possibly the worst guard defender in the league.
Bro, that is blasphemous. You're acting like Kyrie's this all-NBA defender.
He can
that's
defend.
Insane work.
Not having that. Not having that.
He's a good, he's all right, but he's not.
No, I'm not having that.
You could not compare Dame and Kyrie more on the defensive end. They're literally the exact same.
No, Kyrie is a 10 times better defender.
Okay.
Bro, Dame is one of the worst defenders we have seen at the guard position. And it just started to get highlighted once he went to the Bucks because it didn't matter at Portland. He was so good offensively at Portland, it didn't matter. And no wonder they didn't win many games in the playoffs because he can't guard anything.
Pretty bad defender to be on the 75th anniversary team.
No, that's a joke. Clay wasn't even on it. You talking about
Jesus.
Clay and Kyrie not on it?
Yeah,
Criminal.
Bro, Damian
Criminal.
Lillard is better.
Bro,
Kyrie,
it was just a bunch of blokes from the 1950s just on it. Seriously.
That's a discussion for another day.
Shooting bucket shots out here.
Okay.
Seriously. What are we doing here?
Jay's getting off topic. Okay, last one. Okay, De'Aaron Fox versus Trae Young.
Yep.
Okay, who are you taking?
Trae Young. 100%.
Jesus.
Trae Young.
Jesus.
Bro, come on.
De'Aaron
What
Fox
are we
is
doing
better
here?
than Trae Young.
What are we doing here?
Fox, he's not as good of a playmaker.
Has De'Aaron Fox won a playoff series?
No, he hasn't.
Okay. And where has Trae Young gotten to before, Ben?
Yeah, he got to the conference, but that's because every other team just shit the bed.
So who did he beat? He beat an up-and-coming Knicks team with the coach of the year and Tom
Knicks
Thibodeau.
team, they literally
With
had
the
Julius
coach of the
Randle as
year
their
and
best
Tom
player.
Thibodeau.
That was the worst
And
four
then-
seed I've ever seen.
And then
They
had
beat
to
Philly.
go up against the Philadelphia
Yeah, 'cause
76ers.
Simmons wouldn't take a fucking layup.
Oh, okay. What are we doing here? That's criminal. Bro, you're talking
Bro,
about two All-Stars in Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid that he beat
All-Stars.
by himself.
Yeah,
He beat by himself. Yes,
bro.
by himself.
Bro, Clint Capella was averaging like a 20-20 that year. Look,
What are we doing
Trey
here?
dominated that playoff run, but bro, he's lost more hairs than one playoff series since then.
Trey averages 25, 3, and 10. Four-time All-Star, and we know he should be more than a four-time All-Star. And one-time All-NBA, one Rookie of the Year. This year he's averaging 24, 3, and 11. He's averaging 11 assists. How many years consecutively has he led the league
Bro,
in
no doubt Trey's the
assist?
best. He's way better playmaker than De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox only averages the 6 assists for the career. That's still pretty decent. But bro, I'd love to see Trey defend anyone. Literally could not defend a fucking tree.
Right, he's good
De'Aaron
enough
Fox
offensively.
was a steals leader. He literally led the league in steals. And Trae Young, he is exploited constantly on the defensive end. He's an amazing playmaker, but bro, even in terms of watchability, he is the most frustrating player to watch. Trae Young. De'Aaron Fox, he's this downhill point guard.
It is frustrating watching him drop 30 and 10 in an NBA game.
The Trae Young glaze.
And then, I don't know, taking like one-legged threes from half court. That is frustrating
I told
to
you
watch.
about that. And you're using that against me. I was watching that. Okay.
Bro,
De'Aaron Fox averages more points and rebounds than Trae this season. He's dominating. His peak is going to be better than Trae's peak. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but has he hit that?
He's going to.
But is he there?
Oh, apparently he's going to be a Hall of Famer, according to you.
Yeah, he will be.
Give him his yellow jacket.
He will be.
But
right
Trae
now,
Young's better than him.
Right now, and previously, he's not better than Trae Young. Trae Young has done so much more.
If I'm picking a player to lead my team, I'm taking De'Aaron Fox. I am. He's a leader. Trae just gets these.
Trae was 2 games
empty
away
stats.
from the NBA Finals.
Oh, bro, that year was just insane. He played the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
Julius Randle was their best player. RJ Barrett, was that rookie year or sophomore year, RJ Barrett? They were the worst 4 seed I think I've ever seen. They played Philadelphia 76ers. Ben Simmons literally just gave the series to them, just didn't want to take a fucking layup.
That is so blown out of the proportion, man.
And then they were 2 games off making the finals. Bro, they were versing Giannis. The only games they won was when Giannis was injured.
Were they 2 games away from making the finals?
Bro, that is
How many
the
games has
worst.
De'Aaron
That's the
Fox
most
been away?
overrated. There's a
How
reason
many
they haven't been near it since that playoff run.
How many games has De'Aaron... I think we forget Trae Young got injured as well. Trae Young got injured in that series.
Whatever.
He did an ankle.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. He was out.
Yeah, whatever.
Bro, if he stayed healthy, he beats the Bucks.
Bro, Fox has finished higher in the standings than Trae Young ever has.
Cool.
Their highest they've ever finished was 5th.
Has he
D
gotten
Fox
past-
that year finished 3rd.
Has he gotten past the first round?
Yeah, it took Steph Curry to drop 40 points to beat them in Game 7 and sack.
So they didn't
De'Aaron
get
Fox
past the first round.
has proved that he can lead a successful team. It's just having the pieces
Isn't that
around
what
him.
Trae Young did? Led
Right.
a successful team,
Yeah,
got to the Eastern Conference Finals.
their
De'Aaron Fox
run-
hasn't proven that.
Their run was like the Pacers last year. They were just the only team not injured by the end, and then they just...
Nah. No, they beat a fully healthy Philadelphia 76ers team.
They're never fully healthy. Embiid...
They were that year.
Whatever.
Criminal.
Oh, criminal, man. That's... Okay, we'll put it out to the dribblers to see who you think is a better player. But, yeah, to be honest, that Fox and Trae one is pretty tough. They're very, very good players. But,
100%.
Anyway, man, is that it?
That's us done.
Is that us done?
That's us done.
You beauty. So that's a wrap on the NBA episode this week. Episode 11, it's moving fast already into double digits. We've locked in our contender tiers and picked the future faces of the league. Let's see how it plays out. Don't forget, our footy episode is coming up soon, so be ready for that. Plus, we are so excited to have our first ever guest on the pod. He's a superstar in his field, and we absolutely love him as a bloke. So we can't wait for you guys to find out who it is, and can't wait for you to hear that next week. Make sure you're following us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, and X, so you don't miss any of the action or behind-the-scenes content. And yeah, that's basically it for now. So we'll catch you guys next episode on Talk and Dribble.
We out.